Hey guys, welcome to another episode. Today's going to be a nice quick episode for you. Some people want the quick video, so this is going to be one for you. We're going to be replacing our window guides, our window crank mechanism, all the guide wires. We're replacing all that. I'm going to show you how to do it with some very basic tools, some things you have around the house, and any garage has these tools to be able to do this. Really quick and easy. I've already done the passenger side. I'm going to show you how to do it here on the driver's side. So these tools you're going to need are very basic. All you're going to need is a 10mm wrench. You can even have a 10mm socket if that's what you've got laying around. You'll need your new window mechanism. I'll make sure to put a link in the description down below for this, for where you can pick up yours at Vick Auto. Very affordable, and it makes all the difference, so make sure you definitely pick it up from there. All solid metal construction. Good parts make a difference. So make sure you hit that link in the description down there to pick up yours. And the other thing you're going to need is a pad of paper and a pencil or a pen or a Sharpie, whatever you've got, and all it takes is these couple pieces to really make it happen. Now I already have my door card off, my door panel, so that makes my job so much easier. But if you do not have your door panel off, there should just be some clips around the outside that'll pop it off. Or if, like many of us, you have a previous owner who just took some self-tappers and tapped it into your door, you remove those screws to get the door panel off. There is the window crank and the door handle that also need to come off. The door handle, this has a Phillips screw typically on the inside, and then the hand crank has a little C-clip on the back side that you see the flathead, pop it out, and that hand crank should come out. And then you can remove your door card once you unscrew everything. And that'll give you access to our door panel, and it'll look just like this. This here, now you may have something like this, these little sound deadening pieces. You'll need to remove these. You do not have to remove these rubber ones on the bottom. And you'll probably have another square one here on the bottom, and your existing window crank mechanism will be here in this location. And when it's all in there, it'll be wound up in the pulleys that are in there. Something like that is how it'll be laying in there. Again, this is on your driver's side. Your passenger side will be the reverse. It'll look like this on the passenger side. This is our passenger side pulley. Our driver's one did not have one to begin with, but just to go show you why we have to replace it, half the teeth are missing. So we've got the Hillbilly edition for our hand crank here. You see we've got teeth on one side, but not the other here. So we don't need this anymore. We're gonna toss that, and we're gonna go in with our nice new part right here. Now, if you notice, these have already got studs on them, and they line up with the holes perfectly when we get it fed through the bottom when you remove these covers. So what you're going to want to do is find some nuts that thread on these. If you do not have a nut that fits on these, you can go to your local hardware store and they should have some there. Or you can always punch these out and put a bolt with a nut on it if you'd like to do that as well. Your choice, however you want to make that work. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to bring you guys in, show you the pulleys, where they're all located, and how we're going to feed it. We are fortunate to have our glass already removed and everything like that. So if you are not at this stage, you will just unscrew these screws here. This is on our passenger side. You'll see these guide wires. That's what we're replacing today. You'll just unscrew those. There is a nut on the back side. You can unscrew it. Make sure you pull these out completely, and then you'll be able to remove the glass from the door. Just make sure you don't lose any of these. They like to fall on the bottom. You can pop these rubber housings, these little covers off, if it'll help you get to those nuts and bolts, but a magnet on a stick does wonders. So as we come over here, the next thing we're going to look at once you have that glass out is going to be the pulleys. So this is from the top of the door. I'm going to do my best to show you guys. So there's one pulley down here. There's two here. You'll see there's one on the left there, and the other one on the right, which is right there. See those? And then we've got two at the top. One here, one here. This is our door mechanism. That bar is our door to open the door from the inside. That's what this is here. So this is where your pencil and paper come in handy. So if you've already got it put in the car, you'll draw it out. So this is on our passenger side, so it's going to be very similar on our driver's side. This is our hand crank. We come up and over, down through the screw, which is just like that one there. Come back to the pulley on the bottom, go diagonal up, back over the top, through the other screw, like that, down through that bottom pulley, all the way across to that one offset one, and back to the crank. So this is a very basic rundown of how this pulley works, but I'm gonna do my best to show you guys inside the door before we get the glass in, so you can see how it feeds and how it winds, and some tips and tricks I learned from this first door on how to install this. Okay, so we've got our mechanism all unwrapped. You see the big string of wire coming off. It should be all one piece. And just for the sake of showing that it can be done, is I punched out the studs and put in my own, just to show you that it can be done. If you don't have those hardware on hand or don't have enough time to run to the store, you can definitely replace them. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna feed this through first. I'm gonna put the wire in first, through the bottom, just kind of stuff it in here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna unscrew one at a time. I don't wanna do them all at once because the entire mechanism will come apart. So we wanna make sure that we only do one at a time. Otherwise we're gonna have a mess on our hands. We have to rewind this whole thing and that's not gonna be fun. So we're gonna come through the top to the bottom. And you can see, so the device is actually faced like this. So the handle's at the bottom, the big wheel is on top from the back side. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna feed in this nut, or this bolt first, and then I'm gonna thread the nut in on the back side. So we've got that first one on there a little loose. We don't wanna tighten anything up because we still have to take out our other ones. Now if you did the studs, and you're just putting the hardware, like the nuts, on the studs that are built into it, then you don't have to do this step. You just thread it on there, but don't put it all the way. You want to make sure you have a little bit of play just in case we need some adjustment. So I'm going to finish putting these in there and bring you back when it's all put together. So we have our wire pulled through our door, that second slot here. I'm trying to do this one-handed. And we've got nice tension on our mechanism. So you see there's one on the bottom and then there's one on the top. So what we're gonna start with is this wire on the bottom and we're gonna feed it through this pulley here on the top. Once our top pulley is fed with that bottom wire, we're gonna go straight down to this middle pulley here, not that one to the right, but straight down. I'm gonna wrap around the outside of it, come back to the front, and come diagonal across the front to this pulley on the outside of the door. All right, so we've gone from the top pulley down to the bottom. Then we're diagonal up to this top one. So this is what you should see so far from the door panel side. So as we go back down, there's another pulley right down there. Hopefully the camera will pick it up. We're gonna go around that pulley, and then we're gonna go all the way across the bottom to that last one on the right, all the way on the bottom. Now this is the tricky part. On this pulley that's down here that I'm trying to get around this one, the wire is tight. So since that wire is tight, this is where that 10mm comes in. Because we can actually unscrew this pulley here and loosen it just a little bit to get some wiggle here, and that should give us enough slack to get around that pulley there. Now we don't want to be too aggressive because these pulleys are 40 years old and they're plastic and they've been sitting in a hot door their entire life. So we want to be extra careful. We're going to give it a little bit of slack and hopefully we'll be able to get around that pulley without any issue. So you'll see we've got enough slack on that. We did not pull it out all the way. We just left it so we could wiggle it. And you can see that we finally got, maybe I can get y'all in here. You can see we finally got that wire around that last pulley right here, which completes the entire system. So you should be able to see something like this looking from the door in. So what we're going to do is we're going to tighten this back up and this will bring full tension onto the wire for the entire system. So this is where the trial and error comes next. I don't have my door, my window crank mechanism. So what I'm going to do is just take a rag and some locking pliers. And I'm going to use that as my handle to move the wires up and down to make sure there's no binding or anything like that. Before we mess with the glass, I want to make sure that there's nothing running into each other on this. Now that we've checked for no binding, nothing is rubbing together, I wanted to make sure that nothing is rubbing and nothing is, so that's a good sign that we did it correctly. We can actually tighten down these screws. And what we want to do is add a little tension to it. We don't want to add too much because if we do too much, we risk damaging those plastic pulleys. So we're gonna remove our window crank, super high tech on that one, and we're gonna tighten these up, adding a little bit of tension like that, pushing down on the system to add a little bit of that tension. We're gonna snug these up. Now we can see those are nice and snug, nothing's moving. We're gonna reapply our hand crank. If you are using the actual door crank itself, don't put that little snap ring back on it. You're just gonna keep fighting it. Just use it to rotate the handle when we're trying to adjust it. So what we're looking for is kind of the middle of the window. So we're trying to guesstimate as best you can where the window is going to end up as we're cranking it, where our halfway point is. Okay, so it's all the way down. So we're going to go up. You can go all the way back up until it stops and try and find a middle point. So I'm going to guess that right about there is about half. So now we can go clean our glass 100% and start working on installing the glass itself and the hardware. So you can see how dirty our glass is, especially that glass that's normally below the watermark, the water guard, shield protector thing. You know what I'm talking about, the felt piece that stops the water from going down the door. So we're gonna clean all this up. This looks like it's pretty aggressive, so if it is, we can always take a razor to it and strip all this off. I just wanna have nice clean glass going in there, because our luck is we'd only clean the spot that you see, and we would go just barely miss it. You'd have a dirt mark that would come up through that felt. So we're just gonna clean all the way down, make sure everything's nice and clean. You wanna make sure your hardware is out, and the little rubber grommet that goes in here, so we get a nice good clean. And I'll show you how to reinstall all that. That's pretty nasty. The good thing is it's coming off, so we may be able to avoid the razor. Alright, so I keep all my hardware in a Ziploc bag, as you guys should probably do it too. That way it keeps it all together and you don't lose it. And you can see how nice our glass cleaned up, and this little bluish tint to it means that it's tinted glass, which is great. Keep some of that sun out of, and the heat out of the car as much as it could, at least. It's still gonna get there, but. So what I'm gonna do is show you how to put this hardware in it outside of the car, because once we go in, it's gonna be really hard to show you how to do it. So if you're able to salvage your grommets out of the window, I was not, so I'm gonna have to replace these. I have a pack of them. What you're gonna do is make sure you're in the right orientation in the car. If yours is tinted like mine, there's a logo in the top left corner, and that goes to the outside of the car. So we're looking at it like we're staring at the door panel itself. So this is towards the car, and this is the back side of the car. So we're gonna insert the grommet. You're also gonna have a little channel looking piece here with a bolt, a screw with a washer. That washer is very important. That's gonna go through the front, through that grommet. And on the back side, there's gonna be a little L-shaped bracket here and a nut. Well, this bracket, when it goes behind the glass, this bracket has to face up, because this is like a bumper. Now if you can, I'd put some heat shrink on here, something like that, to create a little bit of padding so it's not just metal on metal. But it'll go on the back side here with that grommet still there. There should be like a little rubber washer. You'll put the bracket on facing up, and then you'll put the nut on. Now you're not gonna put that nut on super tight, and that's important because that guide wire actually goes in that channel. So when we go to put the glass on, that wire goes through this little notch here. It goes through there, and that washer that's on here is the pinch between the bolt and that wire and this housing. So it's very important that you keep that a little loose, that way we can get the wire in there and get it adjusted. So this is where the patience part of it comes in. We're gonna get this on the wire roughly where the middle is, where we put it, and that way we can still access these screws. And we're gonna get this installed on there. I'm gonna show you how to adjust it little by little to make sure it's centered in there and seated correctly. All right, so this part is important when it comes to the glass. As you'll notice, there's kind of a kick forward here and it kicks down, there's a little curve. The front is just straight one piece because that rides on this felt channel here with the triangle window. So in order for us to get our hardware on, we have to put the glass in first. So we're gonna put the glass in as close to this channel as possible. And we're gonna attach our screws and our grommets onto this metal wire. So you'll notice that our holes actually line up with our wires just fine. And they both are sitting in the felt grooves. So what I'm gonna do is just do one hand to hold up the glass, like that. I'm gonna start installing my hardware. I'm gonna be blocking you a lot because I'm gonna need to stand right here in front of you, so I'll show you when we get it all put in. So you can see the glass is in. I've got the wire coming through that channel, held down by the screw with the washer, and you can see the tab is up on the back. So this is my guess at halfway, and this is where the adjustment comes in. Maybe it's a little bit more than halfway. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna roll it all the way up. So we're going past the top of the window, so we know we're too tall. So we're gonna come all the way down. Nice and easy. So that's all the way down, so we can't go any more. And we can see how much we have. So we need to make an adjustment of about an inch down on our wire. So we're gonna come up to the middle where we can access both screws. We'll take a Phillips head, we'll back these off a little bit, we'll bring it down about an inch and try again. And this is a trial and error process to get it as close to as flush on top and all the way down. You gotta remember we've got trim here, but all the way down when this stops. So it's definitely a balance here. And the last thing you'll want to do once you get that set is you want to make sure that in this channel the glass is all the way in this here. So you may end up having to pull on this backside forward to push it into the channel, and that'll help seat it. You can also see we're resting in the channel in the back here. So just kind of a little bit of a tweaking here and there. This is your patience put to the test. So we're gonna constantly go a little bit here, a little bit there, get this all nice and centered. We definitely don't want it too tall, to look goofy, too short, and we let rain in if we have to ever put the top up, which I hope we don't. But we're gonna do some adjusting here, and I'll bring you guys back when we're all set where we should be. So I think we've got it pretty close. You can see it's just a little lip here, but I'm trying to account for the trim and the felt piece that goes here, and we can crank it all the way up. Nice and smooth, no binding, nothing like that. Comes all the way to the top. Now there is a little bit of a difference here, and that's probably where our difference on the bottom is. But if you have a whole lot on top still, when your window's all the way down, that's when those little L tabs on the back can be adjusted. That's why they're slotted, to make up that difference. So it's completely adjustable. And the other good thing to note is we are fully in the channel all the way over. That way we pull on this a little bit as we're tightening it up. And we want to make sure that when we're tightening these screws that we're not overdoing it, because if you do it too tight, you'll crack this glass and then you'll be really mad at yourself. So make sure you don't over tighten these, just enough to where it holds a nice tension on there, and that way it will go up nice and smooth and down just as smooth. All right guys, and with that, that's gonna be the end of this episode. Super easy, quick job to do in the afternoon right after work to make all the difference. That way we're not clicking our awful gears trying to get this window up with only half the teeth. So much better, really easy to do, something you can do at home in your driveway with very basic tools and understandings. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out. I really do appreciate it. We do still have shirts and drink sleeves in stock, so make sure you send me an email at garagetimetv@gmail.com to make sure you pick up your shirt or your drink sleeve. That really helps support the channel so we can keep buying parts and fixing stuff like this so you can fix yours at home. So thank you guys, and until next time, we'll see ya.